Hey kids, it's Old Man shouting at clouds, and now with others too. Chatting about the CFL is what they're going to do. Some have no contacts and others have no clues. Everyone will tell us all their quirky football views. Hear what Old Man and others know. It's the CFL Outsiders show.
Hey, GT. What are we going to do this week?
Same thing we do every week, old man. Take over the CFL.
Hey, kids. Welcome back to another episode of the CFL Outsiders. I remain, as always, your 100% impartial, completely unbiased, and rather impatient co-host, Old Man Shouting at Clouds. Joining me as usual this week is MJ.
Hey everyone, I'm overtired from baseball. I'm hopped up on cold meds, so I will do my best. I'm sorry if I cough, but I'm happy to be here to talk football.
Oh, good. That combination ought to make for a good show.
I might have as many hot takes as you guys tonight.
I may have to show you the edited version for you to approve. Anyway, also here with us, as usual, is GT.
Hey everyone, how you doing tonight? I'm also not hopped up on cold medicine, but I did have an experience watching the games on Friday night where I went, "Oh right, never mind. It's a long story." But I did have one of those
Okay.
"oh right" moments.
Yes. Well, let's get started right off. You were doing the Casey Printers jersey auction there, GT. Any updates for that?
Absolutely. As we talked about last week, we had moved the final deadline to the final whistle of the final game of the season, Saturday evening. And some point late in the week, we had a last-minute bid that came in at a number that was exciting, very exciting. And I'm proud to announce that after a season-long battle in the trenches and on the field, front and back, offense and defense, special teams involved, both of the MJs did their best, put themselves ahead of themselves, and played for the team and came out with a winning bid. So both of the MJs are going to share this jersey. I understand. I'll let MJ talk about it. And between all the things that we've done this year, I'm proud to announce that CFL Outsiders will be donating over $300 to the CFL fans fight cancer. And we will be making that official in the next week or so at the very most. So thank you very much to everyone that took part. We appreciate it very much. So MJ, I understand you're sharing it, or is that the plan?
Well, it's like those Olympic high jumpers who just couldn't. They kept jumping off and kept pace with each other, and then finally they just decided to share the gold medal, and that's what my sister and I have decided to do. So we will be sharing. We will have joint custody of the jersey, and we'll most likely need a written agreement to avoid any confusion.
I am not doing any arbitration cases, okay? No arbitration cases for me.
Yes. Your job is done when the jersey gets mailed.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, you'll have to get that out to MJ sometime. She can wear it for the Grey Cup show.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Alrighty. So a few things to talk about this week. There's a little bit of news, and then there were, kind of some games. So first thing, the fantasy is all over. I mentioned last week, unfortunately, I came up one game short. I lost in the finals to Adam of the Canadian Football Countdown, but I played the last week just to play it out anyway. So I'll let you know I managed to get 102.9 points this week. Means I had 2,188 points even for the season. 104.2 points a game. I have found generally if you average about 100 points, you usually win more than you lose. So I'm happy with that. I'll have to do some more looking for ways to improve for next year and take it all the way. How about the two of you? Did you bother this last weekend? It's a tough weekend to do fantasy.
Did you bother, MJ?
Yes.
Good.
Sadly, I did bother. Let me paint a picture for you. I met my sisters up for the weekend, and we are at a book convention. And all of a sudden, I'm just going to check my phone quickly. And I realized that Davis Alexander is not playing.
Oh,
And
no.
it is 1:30 p.m. and the game started at 1. Oh. Anyway, I ended up with 62.3.
Oh, yeah, that's, I thought you were at a bookie convention and you were doing fantasy. That would have been pretty
Well,
good. I,
well, no, not those kind of books that might have helped me out.
I actually did okay. I was 103.9, so it sounds like a radio station, but that's what it was. I had Bo as my captain, which was okay. Hamilton's defense, which was okay. My Butler, which was very meh. But then I had Dubois because I figured if Ottawa was going to do anything, maybe he would get a touchdown from the 1 yard line type of thing, which got me 0 points. And then my receivers weren't good. I had Lawler beat, like I think a lot of people did, thinking they were going to try to get Lawler the touchdowns. Instead, they decided it was Tim White's night. So Lawler wasn't great. I had Rhymes, which was not bad, but not great. But I had Eberhardt at the end as my flex.
Oh.
And Eberhardt got me
That'll
20. Eberhardt got me 26 points. So yeah, I ended up with 103. That was
Oh, nice.
that was the saving grace. Otherwise, it would not have been good.
Yeah, our teams were almost the same in a lot of ways. I also went with Bo and with the Hamilton defense, and I teamed Bo up with Lawler, and then I added Keandre Smith in with him, and went for my. I think I put Mills in running back, and I forget who else I had in there. But as I started bouncing it around and looking for things to juggle in that, I decided that maybe I'd cut back somewhere else and up Keandre Smith to Tim White, which turned out to be a smart move.
Yeah.
With the 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So that's what got me the points that were there. But it's always a bit of a crapshoot, and especially the last weekend, because as you discovered, you don't know. You can pick somebody great and they get in no plays or one play.
Well,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
you fly
Yeah.
close to the sun,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
things happen.
it happens. Yeah. Well, that's it.
A question for fantasy that I don't know and why you can't do it. Why can't you pick a second quarterback as your flex?
I have no idea other than they just
don't, it doesn't show up. For some reason, you're not allowed to
Yeah.
pick a second quarterback as your flex. And if you could afford
Yeah.
it, I don't see why you couldn't, like especially a guy like Tommy Stevens, that would be a great
Or
flex. to have,
Jeremiah Mazzoli. Maybe
That may be something.
Yeah.
I've never seen that, though. For some reason, they limit it to what some people call the skill position
Yeah.
players, which I think is a little bit ridiculous, but to the ones that actually carry the ball around, which
it's kind of fun
should
to have a
include the
special
quarterbacks, I guess.
teams player on there as well, right? Like a kicker or something.
There are some leagues that do give points for kickers. The other thing that, frankly, that I think that they should maybe look at doing is giving points to an offensive line, and it would be based on sort of your sacks and your running total for the game. And
Yeah.
I think that
In various fantasy things that I've listened to, I've heard that the offensive line would be the absolute hardest to give points for, and so that's the reason that they don't. But I have also heard in other places that there's a possible major upgrade and difference in fantasy coming next year, so that it's going to be a completely different kind of game. Apparently, I don't know what the differences are because I don't play and watch the NFL, but I understand again it's going to be more like NFL fantasy, is what I've heard.
wonderful.
So
Yeah.
I don't know how that works, but that's what I've heard.
Maybe I won't dedicate too much time to thinking about it in the off season.
Yeah.
Then wait and see what they give to us. Couple other news items, just really almost rapid fire things for most of these. Bob Dice, to no one's surprise, was terminated as the coach of the RedBlacks, which I guess isn't the worst thing in the world. He gets another year's pay at least. Not much news that I've seen around that, other than a lot of speculation on who they're getting in there for a coach. Doesn't seem to be anything concrete. I've heard Henry Burris's name kicked around. I've heard some speculation that they may try and steal Dinwiddie out of Hamilton, or
Not Hamilton.
or not out of Hamilton, out of Toronto. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Hamilton was the next one. They may try to steal Dinwiddie out of Toronto, or they may go see if they can get Orlando Steinhauer out of Hamilton to give up the president thing and become a
luck.
coach again. The only other serious one I've heard kicked around is Mark Mueller, the OC for the Riders. But I've also heard people on other podcasts say they've talked to him, and he says he's going to be very picky when he makes the move. He wants to make sure he's going to a team where he feels like he's got success. And Ottawa right now might not be that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things there that I think need to be unpacked very quickly. And we don't want to spend all night on it. But first of all, they fired Dice, but they haven't fired the rest of the staff, as far as I know. So they have to do that. Burke said the head coach making the coach's decision, but most position coaches are on year-to-year contracts. So it's almost like he's leaving the new head coach to make the decisions on who he wants to keep. And at the same time, leaving those guys in limbo so they have to quit if they want to look for another job before January or whenever they get to hiring a coach. I don't think that's a good move. I think they should have just cleaned house, period, and been done with it. Secondly, I've heard that Rick Campbell's still in the running, and I think that would be a bad move. I think they need to just clean house, period. I spoke with my brother in Ottawa today, and I mentioned Noel Thorpe again, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, and he immediately went, "Oh, no way. Oseg is still mad at him from when he walked and did them the dirty a few years ago, when he tried to go after the Edmonton job when he was their DC and tried to cut his contract." So I guess there's really deep bad blood there. So that probably isn't going to happen. I think O'Shea's in play. If the Bombers get beat up this weekend, they may finally say enough of each other. And I think O'Shea's probably more in play than say Dinwiddie. And Orlando Steinauer would be a horrible choice, in my opinion, a horrible choice. So I can't see them doing that, but stranger things have happened. That list that 3 Down put out had a couple names on it that I thought were too soon, and a few other guys that I thought were kind of interesting. I think personally it's going to be either Mueller or Monson out of Hamilton, Brett Monson, who came over as the DC this year. I think though Mueller is probably the guy because he can be head coach and OC. I think it's too early for him, but I think he's probably going to be the guy. So that's
if
my
he's
opinion.
interested.
So a few things here. This is the worst kept secret. Like everyone knew that was coming.
Yeah.
Why Sean Burke did not clean house when he announced this? Tommy Condell's name should have been in the same sentence.
Yeah.
And honestly, so now you have to find a head coach that can deal, like, is there how Sean Burke's running things. So now you're going to have to find somebody who's willing to work with him and come in and clean a house for him. And I'm not sure who is interested in doing that. OC is not a terrible life, right?
Yeah.
A head coach, it can be a terrible life, especially if your GM is going to hang you out to dry. So it'll be interesting to see who they can lure up to Ottawa.
Yeah, and the other factor is Burke only has 1 year left on his contract. So a coach that's going in there doesn't know if Burke's going to survive next year. And then if Burke hires him and the new GM comes in, you're tied to Burke, not to the new GM, and that usually means that you're not going to last long either. Yep. Saskatchewan and Craig Dickinson, right? It's going to be very interesting. This is a make or break hire for Sean Burke as well. So it's got to be the right guy. I'm wearing my Henry Burris jersey, and it just because because Hank would be interesting if nothing else, coming in to save yet another franchise.
Yes.
Save that franchise once before. He can do it again.
So, my only concern with Hank and with some of the other names, including Monson, and frankly Mueller, is that they don't have the experience at the head coach position.
Yeah.
The way that things have gone in Ottawa, I don't think you can take a chance on somebody who's doesn't look like they're at least gold standard without the fans revolting on it. And they did, again, you were mentioning 3 Down. They were one of the ones that were talking about this, and they mentioned that if they go with Steinhauser, Tommy Condell and him are very close friends.
Yeah, that's
so
a
maybe
horrible
keep Condell in that.
Yeah, that's
that's
just horrible.
But look what happened in Saskatchewan when Jones up and left them in the middle of nowhere, and they just decided, well, we're going to, because of the cap, we're going to cheap out and just promote within and do that. If Ottawa does that, they're going to put the same thing as Saskatchewan, 2 or 3 years of disaster before you finally fix it.
Yeah.
What are the odds of Rick Campbell being head coach next year?
Oh, I hope not. That would be the worst.
No, but like seriously, I think if Sean Burke has 1 year left on his contract, are they just going to suck it up for a year?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, again, I don't think the fans will like that very much either.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't think they really care what their fans think right now, to be quite honest.
Yeah, you might be right.
that's the thing is
Yeah.
they've got to prove that the fans are waiting to see that they care.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're already going into a period where they're going to have reduced ticket sales because of all the construction. So they need to keep at least what fans they can. And to me, Campbell would be doing exactly what I just said a moment
Yep.
ago, exactly the same thing that Saskatchewan did with Dickinson.
Yeah.
It's the easy move. Let's just do it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that's, I don't think it would be, accepted well by the fan base. And I don't think it would be the right move either. I'm shocked they didn't just clean house and start over.
Yeah. And the last thing is I hope Bobby Dice gets himself probably another special teams gig somewhere because he was very good at special teams. He just doesn't seem to have the demeanor or can't seem to set a culture in the team. All right, let's move on. You were mentioning that the timing on the games this weekend has changed, GT.
Yeah, that's one of the things that definitely the league announced, and they announced it pretty quickly, actually, once it started. They've moved both games up 1 hour this weekend, and everyone should be aware of that. If you haven't been listening to somewhere else, we were glad to let you know that you got to be in front of your televisions an hour earlier this weekend than what it says on the original schedule because of Game 7 in the World Series. If it happens, they don't want to interfere with it. But they've also said that they're not moving it if there is no Game 7. This is now cut and dry. So even if the World Series only goes 5 or 6, they are not moving it back to the original time. So please be aware of it, that they have moved the games up 1 hour, both games. So I think there's still going to be some overlap between the end of the second game and the beginning of the World Series, but I'm not 100% sure on the timing of the World Series. So I believe they're now 2:00 and 6:00 rather than 3:00 and 7:00, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that makes sense because out here they're early. In Alberta there, MJ, you're going to be able to start the pregame show at 10 in the morning and probably watch sports till midnight.
Yeah, pretty much. Because it's like
We used to do that. We used to
the Dodgers.
That was one of the things. That was one of the things I loved about living in Alberta was we crack the keg at 9:30 in the morning, and we get to pick it up the night before, crack it at 9:30, and sit in the basement until midnight and finish it off. It was great.
I'm gonna my eyeballs are gonna be burning. The Dodgers and Blue Jays are playing. Well, that game starts at 8 p.m. Eastern.
There you go.
So that would make sense if they can stagger. So this, the CFL really has no choice, right?
Oh, yeah.
This makes you look like a team player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're all behind Canada's team. But B, the Blue Jays games are the viewership's between 6.6 and 8.3 million a game right now.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of people watching. So you can't compete with that.
No.
And you're not going to. So, and then, you just let's go Blue Jays.
Yeah.
There'll be a Game 7. The Jays are winning right now. It'll be back to being tied, and it'll be there'll be a Game 7.
Yeah,
Still doesn't mean it goes to 7 games.
Yeah.
Jays could take it in 6.
Yeah,
that's right.
True.
Yes. All righty. Anyway, so that's our public service announcement there. I'll also mention, and just in case, I'm assuming that there are probably a lot of people that skip these games on the weekend because they really were almost preseason football. But if you haven't heard yet, Winnipeg did lose a quarterback, not Zach, but they started Strevler, and I think on the first series, he went down on a non-contact injury, did a hard plant, and his knee buckled, and they ended up carrying him off, and nobody said officially, but it doesn't look good for him coming back in this season, and I've heard people speculating he just may not be coming back at all with the second rehab this soon after the first one. Any thoughts?
Yeah, it was sad to see because, I mean, it was a non-contact, and those things are, the worst kind where you just basically planted and turned and that was it. And you knew right away as well. You just knew that was not good and it was not going to be, and that's going to be another long rehab. So if he comes back, it'll be late next year. And whether he wants to do it or whether he's going to be able to do it or whether anybody wants him back after that, all 3 questions need to be answered. Honestly, we could see that could be the worst kind of ending for a career.
They showed him sobbing on the sideline in his partner's arms. And part of me was like, maybe we should show this because it's just like real life of people and these are humans. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know that we need to show this in the middle of a game. He's posted on his Instagram that he's like, I have no regrets. He never cheated. He's like saying a big deal about how he never cheated the process on rehab and he
Right.
worked so hard. And that Instagram post has, I think, I'm just looking at it right now. There's like over 300 comments, and a lot of those comments are from fellow players around the league. And based on these comments, this guy is very highly and well respected in the CFL. And I think that's a huge loss for
Yeah.
football in general if he's not playing.
He's definitely a character, and he's good, but he's one of those people that he's not quite good enough at a quarterback to be a quarterback. He's not quite consistent enough at a running back to be a running back. He can play receiver. He's one of those Swiss Army knives that can do everything, but he stays on the in my opinion, he stays on the team because he can do all those different things. He doesn't have quite the talent in any of the specific areas to make it go for him. And I will say on what you said, GT, about it being obvious, when they showed the replay, I could see where the knee buckled.
Yeah.
But in real time, I saw him make the cut, and then a DB came in and knocked him down, and that was that's weird. I've never seen a DB take down Strevler on the first hit. And he stayed down, and once we saw it, I saw why. But that was the part that made me question it right off the bat. It was just so bizarre.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things that he is, as you talked about, where he does everything, a little bit, just enough of everything to be able to maintain a position. He's also, from everything that we've read or heard, a tremendous locker room guy. So add that to everything else, and he's the kind of guy you want on your team. I think that's a large portion of it.
The other thing that may affect this is apparently it's the same knee he just had to
Right.
rehab last year.
Yeah.
I wish him well. I hope that he can play again if he wants to, and if not, that he's able to move on and do what he wants with his life, hopefully involved with football somehow.
Yeah.
I hope he's coaching here. If he can't
he
play,
could
I
be
hope
good.
he's coaching, because I think that's the type of guy you'd want on your coaching staff.
I could definitely see him as a position coach because he does bring just so much energy. And if you can get a coach that does that, that's amazing. But we were going to move on because, MJ, you were mentioning that Ed Hervey decided to endear himself to his players again.
He's a
From Sean Burke to Ed Hervey. Here we go. This man, okay. Let me tell you, and then we'll talk about it. Ed Hervey says players are replaceable. This is a 3 Down Nation article, and he was talking about Niles Morgan, Nick Anderson, Joel DeBlanco, and Brock Mogensen, and saying that he doesn't know if all 4 of them are going to be back because they're all replaceable because, quote unquote, I've told our guys this. I look at linebackers like you can replace them. I've always felt this way, and it's nothing personal.
Yeah.
As I said, he's a piece of work.
Do you want to play for him?
Yeah. I was going to say, good luck signing any backers in free agency if you want to.
But no, this is a serious question.
Yeah.
When is enough with this guy? Like, they had that huge beef with Eugene Lewis. This isn't the first time he's called out linebackers or O-line guys in Edmonton before. Like, did it with his last tenure there. And I'm not quite sure why Chris Morris and co. have decided that this kind of behavior is acceptable. Saying these kinds of things to the press are acceptable in the same week. Although maybe this is just on brand for the Elks now, because in the same week, I was going to talk about this in the game, but I'll talk about it now, that Mark Killam said that he wants Cody to play next year, and that basically Trey's going to be gone.
Yeah.
And Cody's like, well, I don't know if I'm going to play. I have to talk to my family. I don't know. And then they're like, no, this is what's happening. Yeah. So we don't need you guys. We don't need you, Morgan, Anderson, DeBlanco, and Mogensen. We need Fajardo. We don't need you, Ford. So yeah. Shots are being fired out here on the prairies.
Yes. Well, within a year now, he said it's not worth paying any money for receivers. and you can replace linebackers. So give him another year and we'll find out what position he actually thinks is
Well,
hard.
we've all seen how he's not paid for receivers this year and how well that's worked
Yeah.
out for that team.
Yep. Well,
Yeah, they well, we talked about just last week or the week before when we were talking about players, and we said that we didn't know how he was going to be managed to keep all of those linebackers. So
Joke's on us.
yeah, so
He's not going to keep any of
he's
them.
not going to keep any of them, or he doesn't care which ones he does keep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, like it's like wild. It's just wild. But in some regards, he's right in that he doesn't need all four of those guys. He only needs to sign two of them, maybe three max, and one of them he's going to lose. He could be a lot more diplomatic about the way he says it. That's the trick. Yeah. But he is going to lose one of them. He could simply say, hey, we're going to lose one of them. We just don't know which one. It comes down to negotiations, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing he could have done with Eugene Lewis and just decided not to, because he doesn't have a filter apparently and does not understand how to be in the least bit media friendly and media savvy in the way that he speaks about his players and his contract negotiations. It very much has a my way or the highway. He said it in his opening press conference and he still believes it, obviously. But he's not going to, what's he going to do on the defensive line? Because he's going to lose at least two of those guys. At least. He's not going to pay all these guys next year. He's not going to be able to. So Edmonton's going to look very different again next year. Very different.
Exactly.
Again.
Well, and frankly, on the D line, their best performers weren't the people that they brought in.
Right.
Exactly.
The guys.
So that's part of it.
The guys they paid a lot of money for. So they're going to be, Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And like you said about the linebackers, he could easily have said, these four guys all played exceptional this year. They're due a payday. I doubt we'll be able to keep them all.
Right.
And that sounds like a good, respectful way to do it. It's saying the exact same thing, but it's not making your players like at the article. What the?
Yeah. And it's interesting. It's interesting because in general circles, the position that is the easiest to replace, because there's 1,000 of them every year coming out of the United States, is running back. And yet he just signed his running back for 3 years for huge dollars. So maybe he thinks running backs are irreplaceable. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, especially too, because the thing is, Rankin is an extremely good back, but he is so dependent on getting a seam and going, and that's where it's his speed when he breaks into the open field that makes him as big and as dangerous a weapon as he is. But he goes through games with 20, 30 yards because he can't get through the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, evidenced again this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. So, oh well, we'll see how Ed does with the team this year. We've got a couple other bits of news for looking ahead to 27. First of all, you said the season dates are moving a little bit, GT.
Yeah, I read an article or saw some notes come out that I don't think it's official yet on the CFL website, but there was a note in 3 Down that they in conversation they've learned that they're moving the schedule forward by yet another week. Now, this is something a lot of people have been wanting and talking about for a while, but apparently now in 2027, we're going to be playing in May. In the last week of May, we're going to be playing football again. So rather than waiting until June and, July like we used to. So that Canada Day opening game is now Victoria Day opening game almost. So it's all getting closer and closer to spring football.
Yes, it is.
I'm
Well,
fine with
we will. Yes, I was going to mention something on that, and then I forgot. Oh, well.
Rather sit outside in spring than sit outside. This Elks game, Calgary game, was on like a Friday night in October at 7:30 in the dark, in the cold. No one wants to do that.
Yeah,
Nobody.
I have no problem.
I'd rather sit outside. It's May. It's nice. It's finally like a hint of like joy in my life. Like, please let me sit outside and watch football.
Yeah. That's true. I can't complain about football starting up again a little bit earlier. I know what I was going to say. So they'll do this. They'll move it ahead and the whole season ahead another week, and everybody will still be saying, "But the season doesn't begin till Labor Day."
Yeah,
You know?
I was like, I made a joke about that. I was like, does that saying still count?
Yeah.
yeah. And while this is yet another blow, or possibly the final blow to our hopes and aspirations of having a football weekend with Vanier and Grey Cup on the same weekend.
Yeah.
The U Sports won't even be in the playoffs at that point in time, let alone at the championship.
Well, they won't even be able to play on the same field because the
very
goalposts
true.
will be in a different spot.
Very true.
Anyway, we're staying positive tonight. Be way too easy for me to slide into that. And speaking of positive news for the Rider fans, the other bit of 2027 news when we're playing under all these new rules and playing earlier in that is that they've awarded Regina the Grey Cup game for that year. So it'll be, I think, the second time in 5 years, because they had it in 21, didn't they? So maybe 6 years.
Yeah.
21 or 22.
22, I think.
Okay, yeah, so in 5 years. And I should have looked it up. I can't even, does anybody remember where it's being played next year?
Calgary next year.
Calgary.
Oh, Calgary. Oh, right, it is, yeah.
It's going to be in the West for like 4 or 5 years in a row.
Yeah.
Well,
this was pretty surprising, I think, because when they first said they were taking bids for the 2027 Grey Cup, and that was only about, 6 or 8 weeks ago, they said they were opening the process. Saskatchewan was not even in the conversation, I don't think. It seemed to be all the conversations seemed to be about the East, between Ottawa, Toronto, and maybe Hamilton again. But basically Ottawa and Toronto seem to be the two primary choices, because it's been Winnipeg, Calgary, Saskatchewan, BC. So it's been in the West for so much. So I'm not sure what happened to the other two cities, or whether Saskatchewan just put in like the best bid or the only bid. I don't know. But it kind of surprised me that they announced Regina.
They said one of their selling features that they won this bid was is because they're going to do all indoor events. Nothing will be outside. And that was a key feature in winning this bid.
And that'll make sense. They can do that. I remember way back in 95, I think that was it, the first Grey Cup that they had there. Everything was all indoors, all the parties and everything like that. In the cold, you pretty much want it
except that they closed down Scar Street, did they not? If I remember correctly, and I was drunk the entire weekend, mind you. But I remember just wandering around the street, and they had the whole thing shut down, and it was an outdoor mall.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
It was Party Central on the street, and from the parade for the entire weekend, it was closed down. And the parade was through there and in front of Hotel Regina and all that good stuff. That was still in my mind, of all the Grey Cups I've been to, that was my favorite Grey Cup. I stayed at a buddy's house. I told him the week before, I'm coming to your house, pick me up at the airport. He picked me up at the airport. I didn't see him till he dropped me off at the airport. We just went our separate ways. I did not see him for the entire weekend. He was out doing it, and I was out drinking and carrying on, and it was so much fun. And it was, that was Saskatchewan's first, so they did it up right. Yeah. It was good.
Yes. And I was still living in Regina at the time, so that was a great party to have.
It was.
I don't want to rain on Rider Parade because great, you have Grey Cup, but I don't understand when they're complaining about the East not having viable teams, and we were talking about how they can't have a 1 to 9 division because the East teams and blah blah. But then you haven't given an East team a Grey Cup in 5 years.
Yes.
It makes sense to me. And everyone's like, well, because like Ottawa doesn't have seating and Toronto won't sell any tickets. And I'm like, okay, but that's not really the case. And why can't I get told all the time that they can't have Grey Cup at Percival Stadium, but I don't see why you can't.
Yeah.
I don't see why you can't.
You can't.
Why can't
you just
though?
Because Percival, I understand, because there is no room to do expansion and do extra seats. And it is maximum 25-ish. And that's just not enough. It's just not enough. You need 35 minimum, 40 is preferable. If you can jam 50 in one of the biggest stadiums like Edmonton, Toronto, or Vancouver, it works. But you need that many to make it pay.
Well, what if you did Percival Stadium with a street party watch party on the outside where you have like beer gardens and you sell tickets for it. Like
I,
as if Montreal can't throw a good party.
well, they can, but I don't think that would sell. I think, to me, Montreal's got to wait until they get the big O renos
Yeah.
done, because
Right.
it's
But
cheaper
like
to reno it than to tear it down.
Hamilton could be hosting this Grey Cup.
The league doesn't award these anymore. The cities bid on them. So if Hamilton didn't bid and Ottawa or Toronto or Montreal didn't bid for one reason or another, whatever they made their choices not to bid, then that's not the league's issue. So, and I agree with your point, MJ. I totally understand it. And I think it's really valid that you should have it in the East on more often than once every 5 years. It should be, it used to be when the league awarded it, it was once in the East, once in the West, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Very rarely did it go to one of the two conferences 2 years in a row. But now that they've gone to the bidding process, then that's the way it works. And if Ottawa's tearing down half their stadium, that's their problem. They can't bid on it. If Toronto's decided for one reason or another that they don't want to do it, then that's their issue. But and I don't know why Hamilton, and maybe Hamilton just thought they wouldn't get it because they were in it recently as well.
They're not having an indoor festival.
Yeah.
Yes. They have been in it recently, and like you said, GT, they're going to have half a stadium in Ottawa until I'm thinking we see Ottawa bidding for it in 28, and then probably Edmonton in Ottawa and Edmonton 28 and 29. I imagine will be what we'll see. If they don't have a stadium, so they couldn't do it. Purcell and Molson, it really is too small. I don't know with BMO. You would know better than me, GT, if they could expand that or not. Even if they can, MLSE is completely up to their ears in World Cup for the next year. They're not going to want to be planning a festival. So it really only left Hamilton to bid.
But there's two things about Toronto that would have made it attractive. I'm not sure why they didn't. Number one is they've already expanded BMO for the World Cup, so it's already there. It was easily and relatively inexpensively done last time when they had the last Grey Cup there. And so it can be 35 to 40,000 without even in a blink of an eye. It'll be 35, almost 40,000 for the World Cup next year. They could just leave it there till the following year if they had wanted to. Secondly, and I don't know what they've done inside, but if I was Rogers, I'd simply convert the Rogers Center for the Grey Cup game and have it indoors there. And you can put 45 inside in Toronto downtown. Now, I don't know how much that would mess with the new field that they've designed for the Blue Jays once they threw the Argos out. And they did. That's the term.
I don't think the field dimension although maybe now that the field dimensions will be smaller, you might be able to fit the field in there.
So I'm surprised that Rogers and MLSE didn't go that route. The problem with Regina has always been talked about is the lack of hotel rooms. There's just not enough hotel rooms in that size of city to accommodate the number of people that come in for the game. And so you end up with people renting their RVs and renting their apartments, et cetera, et cetera. So, and maybe that.
Well, look what happened in Regina this year when there was a music festival and the Stampeders had to stay an extra night and there was no rooms for them.
Yeah, exactly. No, although I will say this, moving the season ahead a week in 27 should really make that a lot better, because part of the reason they run into so much trouble with the Grey Cup is it always matches up the same weekend as the winter exhibition, the winter fair in Regina. And that takes up all the rooms pretty much on its own.
Right.
So by going ahead a week, they may move out of that and have more space. Yeah.
But then I don't know. Then there's also, I don't understand. They told Calgary they would never get another Grey Cup without a new stadium, and they have Grey Cup next year.
Yeah.
So who knows what's happening in the bidding process?
Yes. Remember, CFL equals chaos. Don't try to.
Exactly.
Logic need not be applied here. All righty. So that's that. We got two last bits.
Before we move on, only because we're talking about Grey Cup in 2027, I was going through looking for some music to play the other day when I was just, doing something and I needed music in the background.
Yeah.
So I was looking around, and look what I found.
Oh, look at what you have.
Ah, you have such great memorabilia, I gotta say.
The Black Eyed Peas.
So the Black Eyed Peas official 2005 Grey Cup After Party Mix CD,
Oh,
sponsored by Best Buy, and
Uh-huh.
it's a combination of a whole bunch of different stuff. It's got the Grey Cup logo, it's got the CFL logo of the time. It's all there. It's indoor. It's logos on the inside. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
It is, yeah.
you know
And
what?
I thought they did a good Grey Cup. I thought
Yeah.
I thought the Peas put on one of the better shows for the Grey Cup.
Yeah.
Machine Gun Kelly didn't even post that he was playing Grey Cup on his Instagram, and then here's the Black Eyed Peas with their Grey Cup After Party CD.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things that a lot of people don't know or remember, one or the other, depending on how you look at it, is that one of the members of Black Eyed Peas, I'm trying to think, it's Will.i.am. His cousin was actually a member of the Ottawa Renegades. So he had a CFL connection personally as well as, so that's another little tidbit about that band. So, anyways, I thought it was cute, and I thought I had to show it off.
I love that.
That's
Thank
nice
you.
audible. I like that. So we'll go back to the game plan though, because we have something tangentially attached to the CFL in football. That's some Mike Morreale news. You were saying, MJ.
Yes, this is like my hot tea for the week, and we can speculate as we want. But Mike Morreale has announced last week that he is stepping down as the commissioner for the CEBL, which is the Canadian Elite Basketball League. He has been there for 8 years. He started that league.
Mhm.
And they have 9 teams, and they are doing a pretty good business. And so yeah, he's stepping down, and so I'm wondering if he's stepping back into a CFL role, maybe.
Yeah.
Might be nice.
I wish.
Yeah, well, I'd put his name forward back, if you remember back when we talked about
Yeah.
possible commissioners, and I thought he would make a great commissioner. I'm not sure what else he would come into the league as. Maybe he'd come in as chief marketing officer or something would be terrific, because he's done a great job, as you said, MJ, of growing that CEBL very quickly and really attracting a young, enthusiastic audience. But I don't know what else he would come into, as assistant commissioner. I don't know, something else.
Yeah.
Commissioner with,
well,
his head on,
I don't know. Yeah.
Sorry,
well,
did I
that
let that
was
out?
kind of the. That's okay. That's okay. No, the other thing with it for me is, frankly, I don't know him as a person. I just know what I've seen from him in public and his reputation and that. But I don't know that he would fit in with this group that's got the CFL running right now. I get the feeling he's a slightly more transparent and open communicator than what we're seeing from the CFL by any means.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe when the new rules crash and burn and they suddenly realize they have to backtrack in a hurry, Mike will finally get his chance to be a commissioner in the CSL.
Oh boy.
Alrighty. They've announced the team nominees for I think it is 5 awards in the league, so don't want to take too long on this. I'm just going to run through each of the awards, what the 9 nominees are, and then we'll have a quick talk or not. If anybody feels like there's anybody in the list that was missed, that there should be a different nominee for the team, we can talk about that. Or if you feel like predicting divisional winners or even who's going to win in the end. So you'll have to pay attention as I read them off here. We're starting with the outstanding rookie, which I'm going west to east on here. So BC, Robert Carter Jr., Edmonton, Shailene Garnes. I think that's how you pronounce the first name. Anyway, Garnes, who was the safety there with them. Calgary, Chris Fortin. Saskatchewan, Peyton Collins. Winnipeg, Trey Val. Hamilton, Devin Verisuk. Toronto, Derek Sluka. Hey, I even learned to pronounce his name by the end of the season. Ottawa, Keelan White. And Montreal, Travis Teese. So any thoughts on who's going to be the rookie of the year, or is there anybody that should have been in there that didn't get mentioned?
Well, I think it's going to come down in the West. It's interesting. Both Saskatchewan and Calgary nominated offensive linemen. I thought, I think it's going to come down in the West to either Robert Carter Jr. or Vavel. But I believe it's going to end up being Robert Carter Jr. And then he'll be going up against, in my opinion, a Verisek in the East, because he's gotten all the love this year as the guy. So yeah, that's what it's going to be. And then it's going to be interesting to see which way the voters are swayed, because I think that's a tough choice. That's a tough choice.
Those are my two choices as well.
Yeah.
Out of that.
Yeah,
list.
I would agree with everything you say. Well, no, I wouldn't. I'd agree with most of what you say. I don't think it'll be Carter out of the West. I think it'll be Vavel, just because of the number of kick returns he's had.
Yeah, I think
Carter had that fantastic
have a one-hand interception.
Yes, he did. But
did he get up on a guy like Carter did this week against Aju and just like sprung up and took that ball away? I mean,
that
come
was
on.
Did
impressive too, though.
Yeah. And besides, he's going to win special teams player, so he won't win two.
Yes.
That's the difference.
Well, maybe not, but I think the flash of the big returns will take it to him. But anyway, that's good. We got like we say, agreement is bad radio. So let's go to that special teams player. Lots of kickers, some returners, and one or two cover guys. So BC, we had Sean White, Javon Leake in Edmonton, Mark Vassett in Calgary, who I believe is a cover guy, isn't he? Yeah.
No, he's the punter.
Saskatchewan.
No, he's the punter.
He's the punter?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm not. Well, okay. Anyway, Saskatchewan, Nick Weeb, who is a cover guy. Winnipeg was Trevaval again. Hamilton, Mark Legio. Toronto, Liram Haralahu. Ottawa was Khalil Pimpleton. And Montreal was Jose Maltos Diaz.
So I think it's going to be Vavel versus Diaz, and Vavel wins.
I'm going to say, so I think it'll be Vavel, but I think Bassett's just had an exceptional season. But I think it's going to be Vavel and Diaz, and I hope Diaz wins. He just he's broken their field goal record this year for the Alouettes.
Yeah, and was marching his way towards the league record
he's got
before
a
he ran
fancy
out
kick.
of time.
And he's got a flex.
Yes, exactly. And it
Points
will
the
make your son very
flashiness.
happy when he wins.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about the linemen then. BC, Gerald Broxton. Edmonton, David Beard. Calgary, Zach Williams. Saskatchewan, Jamarcus Hardrick. Winnipeg, Stanley Bryant. Hamilton, Brandon Revenberg. Toronto, Peter Nicastro. Ottawa, Dino Boyd. And Montreal, Justin Lawrence.
I think it's going to be Hartrick versus Ravenberg, and Hartrick will win just because he's a rider, number one. Number two, he's coming off an injury. Number three, he's never won it. He's always been overshadowed by Stanley Bryant. Number four, that's the way press goes.
Yeah.
I think he's the shoe-in of all the shoe-ins.
I think it's going to be Hardrick and Revenberg, but I want Revenberg to win.
Yes, yeah, I can see that, but I have to agree with GT. I think that one's an easy one, and yeah, it will be. We don't know how many years you have left. You've earned this cumulatively. Yeah. So then that takes us up to the last three of the good ones now, the most outstanding defensive player. BC is Matthew Betts. Edmonton is Cordell Jackson. Calgary is Clarence Hicks. Saskatchewan is Jameer Thurman. Winnipeg is Evan Holm. Hamilton is Julian Hauser. Toronto is Cameron Judge. Ottawa, Jovan Santos Knox. And Montreal, Isaac Adeyemi Berglund. Now, I will say here on the Calgary one, I know the three down guys were, I think it was them. I think all these podcasts rolled together, but they were very unimpressed that it went to Hicks rather than Hutchins.
I was surprised. I wasn't unimpressed, but I was surprised that it wasn't Hutchins. That was the most surprising nomination of all the nominations. And as I went through them, that was like, really? Why? Well, that's kind of odd. I thought it was naturally going to be Hutchins. I still think Betts is going to win it, again, for the reasons I talked about Hardrick. Number one, he's recognizable. Number two, it's recency bias. Number three, he's put up all these gaudy numbers. And number four, he's Canadian. And I think he's going to be the West nominee, because none of the other guys, I don't think, can outlast all those things in his favor. And then in the East, it'll be Berglund for the same reason. And I think Betts wins it again, because at some point in time, I find that these voters don't watch that much football. and they just vote for the name they recognize. It's like going to vote for your alderman. You don't know who any of these people are. You just vote for the guy that's either the incumbent or the name you recognize the most.
Any thoughts, MJ?
Well, Matthew Betts will be the West, but Hauser has more sacks than Berglund this year.
I agree.
I think he's outplayed him, so he should be, but I think you're right. I don't think he will be.
Yeah. And see, to me,
Hauser would be Hauser would be my comeback player of the year if there was an award, which I think there should be.
Yeah. And see, if I was voting on it, I would say that there's probably over half this list I'd put above Matthew Betts. And that's only because he's had a half of a great season.
Yeah.
He has had the best second half of a season that we've seen in a long time, but he didn't do anything in the first half. Whereas there's a lot of other guys on this list that aren't making the flash sacks necessarily, but have been solid, consistent, very good players all the way through. I'd have trouble picking out any of the linebackers that I don't think should be below Betts, because all of the ones that they have for linebackers on here have been relatively healthy through most of the season, have played well. But I agree with you. He'll get it because he's Canadian. People won't think about the first half of the season. They'll think about, oh, look at how he's torn up the last 6 games.
Yeah. Recency.
Yeah. Okay. So not a lot of, at least we think we know what the reporters are going to do. We're all in agreement on that. So 2 to go. The Canadian one. Guess who out of BC?
Yeah.
Kid Cannon.
They
changed his name from Kid Canada to Kid Cannon, apparently, or something. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, Nathan Rourke for BC. Joel DeBlanco in Edmonton. Calgary is Jalen Philpott. Saskatchewan is AJ Allen. Winnipeg is Brady Oliveira. Hamilton is Mark Leggio. Toronto is Kevin Meitel. Ottawa is Daniel Adamaboye. And Montreal is, again, Isaac Adiyama Berglund, which I think is ridiculous. If nothing else, you should have both Philpotts competing in the Canadian award.
I think the Philpotts they both have been injured this year.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that this was the Canadian nominee out of Calgary as well. I don't know who else it would have been, but I was surprised that Philpott was the guy. Again, and I think that's people that are just picking a name, that they're not writers that aren't following the league and aren't following the Stampeders really closely, didn't know who the other players were that were Canadian on the list. So went, oh, Philpott, that's a recognizable name,
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, Mark Leggio's had a great season, but let's be honest, everyone's going to vote for Nathan Rourke.
Oh, this is the biggest, when we talked about shoe-ins. No, this is a slam dunk. This is Nathan's award.
Oh, definitely. But my question is, no disrespect to kickers. Kickers face a lot of pressure, and if you can get really good at it, you're a big help to the team. But when you're going to a kicker on a most valuable Canadian or player award, I think you're scratching deep. And how do you pick Leggio on a team that's got Keandre Smith and Katsantonis on it?
Yeah.
Well, Katsantonis was injured.
Yeah, but not for the whole season.
So maybe they didn't.
He was in and out.
Maybe some teams are playing more by the rules than others.
I don't know yet. Or Smith, he was over 1,000 yards this year. Personally, I think the finalists are going to be Adiyama Berglund out of Montreal and Nathan will walk away with it.
Yep.
I think that if it wasn't for the fact that Nathan was in there and Isaac's been getting so much of the pump up about the being the Canadian on the starter on the D-line, I really think that maybe this is a bit of a homer bias on my part, but I think the 2 finalists should be AJ Allen out of Saskatchewan and Kevin Meitel out of Toronto. I think they've both had absolutely fantastic seasons, but again, they're not necessarily the flashiest, so they don't get noticed quite as much. But I can tell you that part of my opinion is sort of swayed by the fact that who knows if it's just the humble brag or what, but I have been told that when Jameer Thurman was told he was the defensive nominee, he said, what about AJ? He should be it. So, and he plays right beside him. Anyway, last one, the big one, the George Reed Most Outstanding Player. And I think this one will probably be a slam dunk again, too, just because. But BC is Nathan Rourke. Edmonton's Justin Rankin. Calgary's Dedrick Mills. Saskatchewan's Trevor Harris. Winnipeg is Brady Oliveira. Hamilton's Bo Levi Mitchell. Toronto is Nick Arbuckle. Ottawa's Khalil Pimpleton. and Montreal is Davis Alexander.
Yeah, it should be Bo versus
It's gonna be
Bo
Bo versus
Nate.
Rourke.
Yeah, and it's it's probably going to be Nathan again, I would assume.
Yep.
Shame on any of you who put up a person who was on a 6-game injured list.
Yeah,
That's ridiculous. Anyway, carrying on.
Was there some of that?
Well, Davis is on there.
Oh, yeah, he is. Yeah, and he was out for.
Nick's
You're right.
on there. Nick's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's Bo
so.
versus Nathan. Everyone else was just like
fodder.
Yeah.
fodder.
Yeah, that could be. All right. So anyway, so that's it. And we'll maybe jump ahead so that we don't get too long here and just do some quick recaps on the games. The first one was Hamilton needed to win to get for their first place locked in on the last week of the season, and they did by 20 points. Hamilton 35, Ottawa 15. Gonna take this, MJ?
Oh, yes. I did watch most of this game until Blue Jays started. Guys, I'm worried about the Ticats. This game wasn't even that close. It seems like this is a high score, but it really wasn't. Let's see what's going on. Leggio kicked 7 field goals. 7 field goals in this game. They couldn't even get near the red zone. I am worried. I'm worried. My TSN shady moment, because this is when I tried to rewatch, and TSN highlight was Tim White doing his 6-7 TD celebration, and that was it for the highlights for this game. And so I had to go to the CFL website to actually find highlights.
Yeah.
TSN, do better. Let's see. Stanbeck got a touchdown. I was sure that Condell forgot he played on the team, but no, he got a touchdown. That was exciting for the RedBlacks. I'll just say one more Ticat thing before I go and talk about the RedBlacks, because what this happened was ridiculous. Reggie got an interception, and he threw a really nice lateral to Castantonis.
Yes.
To keep it going. So that was really nice. I enjoyed that a lot. Tyree Adams was looking pretty good. He was looking pretty good. And then they came out, and it's like they were playing. Guys, Schultz isn't going to be on the team anymore. He got transferred to a different city, so he's always wanted to play goal. So we're just going to let him play goal for the rest of the game. What? Are you a serious professional team?
Yeah.
Or are you? Because you're not. I couldn't. Ridiculous. So Schultz went in there and threw 1,000 interceptions, and the Ticats still couldn't do anything with it and just kicked field goals. And how embarrassing for everyone who had to watch that last half of. Point is, Ticats won. They won the division, so they have the bye. And the RedBlacks look ridiculous, and good luck, Sean Burke.
Yes. I had very little notes on this game, and basically it's a dang good thing there's going to be at least a partial regime change in Ottawa, because they need it. That were a bunch of players that had checked out of the season already. Players, coaches, everybody. Like you said, Schultz, why? Okay, so you're not going to be playing, you're retiring. This is still a professional football game, and you got to worry about next year, and you've got a quarterback who's looking, like maybe he's got a chance to perform, but you don't want another half with him. And then the thing that told me that they were the most checked out was at the end of the first half. They ended up with the ball back in their end, a little bit of time left on the clock. They were obviously not going to score. They were trying to run the clock down as much as they could to pin Hamilton deep and not give up any more points. They get to third and whatever it is with the clock running, so they can drain the clock down. 42 seconds left on the clock.
Mm-hmm.
Clock's running, third down. You can drain it down to 22 seconds when you punt, and Hamilton gets the ball back with 15 seconds, no time to do anything. They punt it, and Hamilton's got the ball with 35 seconds left. They just don't even bother to drain the bloody thing at all. Hamilton marches into field goal range and more points.
Yep.
When it's that basic, that's a team that is not a team anymore. It's give us our paycheck and go home.
Yeah, the highlight of the night was definitely the interview with Adams at halftime, when everybody was like, whoa, did he just say that Schultz is retiring? Because no one seemed to know that until he said that. And when he said, yeah, I'm not coming back in, Schultz is retiring, so they're giving him the second half. And it was hilarious, the look on everyone's faces, including mine in the basement. It was like, really? He just said that. So it was
Good
pretty
for
funny.
him, because I'm sure he was furious, and so he's
Yeah.
like, "You know what?
Yep.
Fine.
Yep. Yeah,
Like, here you
exactly.
go."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he showed enough, I think, that he'll get a job somewhere next year. He's going to get a
Yeah.
chance to get a job somewhere next year between that game and a half, because I think he showed enough. He threw a couple of bad interceptions, but he also threw a couple of nice balls, and everybody knows that it was, that he can play again at least, right? So that I think there will be some team that gives him a shot next year, somewhere. The other thing was, TSN shade on Dice when there was the interception, one of the interceptions by Schultz, and it was like Dice on the sidelines, and he just had that look about him like, yeah, that's over.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm done.
To know that he knew that he was getting fired,
Oh, yeah,
right?
100%.
And then he's like, just like, no Fs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let Schultz play.
Yeah.
Yeah, let Tyree, like,
Yeah.
take the
Yeah.
heat on this interview. Yeah, I don't care what we're doing. Like, just what a terrible, those fans, I am so sorry, RedBlack fans. You deserve so much better than how that game went.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
at least try. Come on, like, just go out, like, at least pretending to care. Like, that was just awful. And you know what? Hamilton fans had to sit and watch that too.
Yeah.
Like,
The stuff with Schultz, I was waiting for it to be, Jacob Ruby always wanted to play running back. Let's give him a few series there.
Bob Dice's dog is gonna suit up for kick returns. Like, it's
Yes,
just
exactly.
like, what?
The other good thing, I will give one positive review of the game. Late in the game, but there was a fumble that was reviewed. And the receiver, and I think it was Hardy, where he rolled over and his foot was down, and they said that his foot was down as he rolled onto the side of his foot, so it wasn't a fumble, so therefore Ottawa got the ball back. And then at the same time, but it took forever to figure it all out. And lost in that, there was some penalty against Hamilton as well, so Ottawa ended up with the ball at the 1 yard line. And then they scored. But then TSN went back and showed why the penalty happened and how it happened. And I thought that was actually really good broadcasting. That it was one of the very few examples, I will say, that I've seen where TSN has done a terrific job of finding a replay, showing and then explaining what that meant to the previous play and why that happened. So I just thought, that was, again, really good broadcasting, and we don't get it often enough.
That was Paul LaPolice, right? That was Lapo. That was.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So.
And that was the play where the player interfered with the ref, right?
Right.
On the sidelines. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I think that was a good call from the command center on what they called the non-fumble. They certainly did not do quite as impressive through some of the rest of the weekend, but we'll get to that. And speaking of which, I'm going to move on to the game. One of the games that was at least somewhat entertaining and worth watching. There were two that I thought could hold my interest a bit, and this next one was one. Calgary needed this to keep themselves possibly out of fourth place in the crossover. They had a chance at the second place, depending on how the game the next day went, and they did what they needed. 20 for Calgary, 10 for Edmonton, but a little closer than the score sounds. You're going to run us through the basics, GT?
Yeah, basically, I don't agree. I don't necessarily agree with you that it was a little closer than the score sounds. I think it was wider open than the score sounds. I think the score flattered Edmonton, to be honest with you. But it just wasn't a very good game because Calgary did not look good, in my opinion. Like you were worried about Hamilton, MJ. I'm worried about Calgary. I didn't think their offense looked that good at all. They had plenty of opportunities within the red zone and didn't score. They came away. They made decisions where they didn't score. Like a third and 3 or something, and went for it, and then called a horrible play that looked horrible and didn't get and got a turnover. They settled for 2 field goals where they should have went for it on 3rd and 1s within the 10-yard line. They looked like they were not playing to lose, but not playing to win either. They weren't aggressive enough, and it was only because their defense again held Rankin to 36 yards or something like that beyond the one big one that he got. So it wasn't.
He had 9 carries for 1 yard rushing.
Yeah.
And 46 yards receiving.
Yeah. So it
On the
wasn't.
screen.
Yeah, and there was one play where they just came in and Markel Lee just crunched them in 5 yards deep, and that was a turnover on downs for Calgary. So yeah, they held him in check, and again, it shows that if he's in check, Fajardo can't win that game by himself. He just can't. He doesn't have the receiver depth, and I don't think he has the arm to do it anymore. So there was all of that. I was surprised that both Fajardo and VA were played the entire game. But that says something about where the score is, I think. But I was surprised that they were both playing in the fourth quarter. I don't know why they were. Either one of them.
Like, at least Calgary had something to play for. There is no reason for Cody to play this whole game. Aren't you,
Well,
looking at some other guy? Okay, you're not gonna play Trey. It is very obvious you're not gonna play Trey, but what's other guy doing?
Yeah.
No-name guy we don't even know about.
Yeah, exactly. So
But, like, why is he not getting at least some reps?
yeah.
Like,
Trey was listed as the official number 3 for that game.
Yeah.
So there's that. And the reason that I said that it, to me, it was closer than what the score indicates is that there was the play that you haven't talked about yet with Rankin on the goal line, where an inch further along, and it would have been a 7 points more for
what a
Edmonton.
showboater.
No, well, I was gonna talk about that play because it was like when it happened initially, I wrote down and I said, wow, what a great play by Rankin. He's done it again. I mean, that was tremendous. He got a 3-yard pass and took it 38 yards or something to the end zone. And as you said earlier, when he gets a bit of sliver of space, he can motor and he can juke too, because he had some moves in the middle of the field that was amazing. However, it was an equally amazing play by Divine Bailey-Scott. Like, to come back to, you talk about not giving up on plays earlier in the season, old man, when you've talked about that. That's the perfect example of not giving up twice by 2 different Calgary defenders. 1 for Divine Bailey-Scott to knock it away, and 2 for Robinson or whoever the defender was, or the DB, to come back and pick the ball up, to have the sense to know that Edmonton's over there doing their party dance, and in the meantime, that's a live ball. And I don't care what they say, that's a legitimate play. That was not a controversial play. Edmonton had that up. They had to do was touch that ball, and he should have known that got knocked out of his hands. Yeah.
Rankin should, even if he didn't think it did and it fumbled, he should have ran in there and touched it.
Exactly.
There's no reason. He was too busy showboating.
That's right. 100%. So that's not, and some people say it has to be a clear and immediate pickup. Well, from how far away? The DB saw it and came. Now, if he was 25 or 35 yards away, it takes 4 or 5 seconds or more to get down there. So he did it. It's not like the play was whistled or anything. It was called. So it was a live ball. It was perfectly legit. There was no controversy in that, in my mind, at all. At all.
See, the only thing I would say that is, I have seen plays not called fumble recoveries when teams have jumped on them quicker than that. Yes, he was a long way away from it, but there was a 3 or 4 second gap between the fumble and anybody touching it. And that's, if you're not in position, it's not your fault, but that's not a immediate recovery to my mind. And like I said, I have seen them blow it dead, saying, oh no, if you don't react and jump on it right away.
But there's nobody there to react. There was that's the thing, is that it's clear and immediate, but from how far? Do you have to be within 5 yards to be immediate? Do you have to be inside the ball to be immediate? No, you just have to make it
immediately recover it.
You have to immediately make the play for the ball, which is what he did. The fact that he's further away, to me, is irrelevant. And basically, it's the exact opposite play that we'll discuss in the Saskatchewan game, where the whistle was blown inadvertently and shouldn't have been. In this one, the whistle wasn't blown and it shouldn't have been, because the ball had never been touched. To me, it was a legitimate call.
I don't disagree that they should have let it go. But I just, like I said, based on the precedents I've seen in this league in the past on that rule over the last 3 or 4 years, I have seen players called that it wasn't an immediate recovery because they've had to run a distance to get to it. And that was pretty clearly the case in there. So
I don't remember any of those, but
Precedents don't apply this year.
That's also true.
Yeah, there's that too. Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, in the end, it depends how you look at it. I think from just how the rules been interpreted, that should have been a dead ball in the end zone with whatever it was, probably Edmonton on the 1 yard line. But if you're looking at actually rewarding the players that are playing well, then yeah, the right call was made. Because as you said, Rankin was right there. He started to go towards it and then changed his mind.
It wasn't
A bunch
just
of other Edmonton players came and did
Right.
it. So it was heads up from the Calgary defender to get in there and do it.
Yeah, it wasn't just Rankin standing there. There were 3 other guys came over and started to dance.
Yeah.
So, I mean, come on. Like,
Yeah.
none of them thought of it. They're all at fault.
Yeah. Yes. So I agree that it's a good call based on the effort, but sometimes calls shouldn't be aren't based on the effort, whether they should be or not. Anyway, good enough with that. Anything else to talk about with this one?
Yes, I just want to say a couple things. One, neither team wanted to play. They were showing the Blue Jays game on the Jumbotron there at the game, and I'm pretty sure all the players were watching the Blue Jays game and not actually playing football. The Elks scored 1 field goal and 1 touchdown in the third quarter. They did not score in the first, second, or fourth. Calgary scored 1 touchdown in the first quarter, then 4 field goals, and the only scoring in the fourth was a rouge.
Right,
Who
yeah,
wants to sit and watch that?
Yeah.
That's terrible. That is terrible football. Yeah, so I'm glad they had the Blue Jays game up there for everyone to watch.
Yeah. I wasn't saying it was a great game when I said it was one of the better 2 of the weekend. None of them were really great, but this was at least, like I said, I was spending some time going, gee, I wonder what's going to happen next. Rather than we're only in the third. Damn. Anyway, yeah, the only other note that I had on it was one for you, in case you didn't throw up your traditional TSN shade. How they had locked in on Rankin after that fumble.
Well, yeah,
they're
that was
trying
pretty
not
awesome.
to cry, frankly.
It serves him right. It serves him right. You play like he should have jumped on that ball. There's no reason for that. That was I don't even want to call it a rookie mistake because he's not, and that was just a complete lapse of judgment, and that was just showboating over playing for your team, and that was selfish.
But it's funny, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it's funny how some things about team identities just remain over several coaches, several GMs. It seems like there's some kind of trend that happens, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. And with Edmonton, they seem to sometimes just around the kicking game like that lose track of what's going on. I'm reminded, I think it was 2 years ago when they were playing in Edmonton against Saskatchewan, a tied game with like 30 seconds left, and the kick returner lets the kickoff bounce into the end zone and takes a knee to give Saskatchewan a point.
Yeah, I remember that.
Again, just bonehead plays and that seems to be part of what they do.
They have a special teams coordinator as their head coach. There's really no excuse anymore.
Yeah, and he was nowhere near at that time, but all right. So then we'll talk about quickly here about Montreal 10, Winnipeg 19. Anybody want to talk about this? I've got a total of 3 notes, so
well, I got 3 notes. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, well, you give your 3 and
well,
I have about 3 notes.
Yeah, I have 3 notes, which we've already talked about Strevler, so that's note number 1. Note number 2 was, Strevler injured first drive, Wilson in, MBT terrible all game. That was a second note. Duguay and Ento, Dequoy and Ento both dropped sure interceptions in the first half, which would have given Montreal a wide open lead, which Winnipeg probably wouldn't have recovered from. And then they got I've got a note that Sioux got they got a TD, but it looked like it was stopped by Montreal, but then it was ruled a TB. Winnipeg recovers a Philpott fumble, takes the ball to the 20. They get a TD, but it looks like it was stopped by Montreal. Oh, that was the one where it was 3rd and 1 on the goal line, and they stood them up. That's what it was. And it looked like on TV. This was the first of the officiating, or the second, if you consider the Calgary one as well. The second one where you went, wow, that's weird officiating, where it looked like that was a touchdown, and Montreal thought they'd stop them. Beverett was sure that they'd stop them, but they ruled it a touchdown still. So that was the other one. Those were my notes.
My note is Maltos, which we already said, he got his 58 field goals. So
Yep.
it's a record. They said after the game that Alexander is a bit nicked up, and so we'll see. And then Scott sounds like he's a bit nicked up, so those are a little bit. I'm sure they'll both play this weekend, but that's a little bit worrisome. Is this the game? I want to talk about this, and I can't remember what game it was. Is this the game where there was the roughing the kicker call? Which game was that? There was a
Oh,
roughing the kicker call that got called this week, but didn't get called last week, and they were the exact same player. Was that?
oh yeah, no, that was the Calgary Edmonton game.
Okay, so can we just flip back
Yeah,
and for a second?
because neither times they were called, and both times I thought they should have been, because as we discussed last week, I thought anytime you touched the kicker, it was automatic, at least contacting, if not roughing. And on the block punt by Calgary, where Brady Breeze, great name, Brady Breeze got his second block in 2 games in a row, he definitely went into the kicker in Edmonton at the same time. And so I was surprised again that there was no call on that, just like last week there was no call on it.
This is my public service announcement to the CFL. Dear CFL, please spend some money, just a bit of money, and at least the head officials need to not be working other jobs.
Yeah.
This is enough. This is enough. I am so between this and the replay center with Al Bradbury in there and Fox whatever's guy and this nonsense. Like these guys need to be these people, like not even guys. These people need to be being paid, so they're not trying to like take their whistle out and then like grab a laptop and start working at their other job because it's not working. It's not working.
And again, it's if the league's not willing to spend the money, there's a reason why you don't necessarily grow the game. Did you have anything else?
I said this was embarrassing.
Yeah.
This was really bad. And McLeod Bethel looks awful. And if anything happens to Alexander this weekend, they are done. They're done.
Oh,
because
definitely.
the Bombers did this with Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They beat them with Wilson versus McLeod Bethel Thompson. And so I think if there's any issues with Alexander, the Alouettes are toast.
Oh, definitely. I think MBT's time in the league is probably done.
Oh, apparently he was throwing his helmet in the locker room after the game.
Yeah, I heard that too, yes. Well, I only had, like I said, 3 points myself. I said that Wilson looked good coming in off the bench, and I was wondering why have they been playing Strevler all along?
Yeah.
And then as the game went on a bit more, I realized, because he started out well, but he also made some very questionable plays. So he reverted to the norm or to the mean as the game went on. I was really pleased to see at the start of the season that Josh Archibald out of BC signed with Montreal. I'd hoped to see a lot more of him because I think he's good. And he hasn't been in the rotation that much. He was this game and got himself a nice sack in the third. And the last one was just for looking for anything to say about the game. I've noticed this and I've thought about it just about every time I see Montreal play. And that's that Charleston Rambo seems to be a pretty good receiver and he knows what he's doing out there. But I don't understand how he stands upright. When he's running, it looks to me like a puppet with no strings. There's just legs flinging this way and arms this way, and it's over here and then it's over there. He looks like it's a controlled fall that he's doing the entire time he's out there. But he gets the catches and the yards. I got nothing else. Shall we talk the last game? Okay, that was BC again after Calgary won, BC needed to win to get the home playoff game for second place. They came into Saskatchewan and they did win 27-21. And BC pretty much played their starters through the game. Saskatchewan played their starters through the first quarter and a half and then put the backups in and had a lead at halftime. But with Mayer, they unfortunately, he didn't look the worst in the world, but he did throw an interception and they left him in for short yardage and he fumbled and just basically took away their chances to do much more, which is unfortunate. I still feel good as a Rider fan. I think most people do, because the Riders frankly, with as many backups as they could play, Winnipeg needed a walk-off field goal to beat them. And with playing as many backups as they could through at least a half, maybe a little more than that, BC still only was up on them by 5 points. And that was taking away the points that you started mentioning earlier there, GT, the fact that they should have had another touchdown because
Absolutely.
weird that this happens 2 games in a row. The Edmonton game, as you said, Bailey Scott caught up to him as he was crossing the goal line and punched the ball out just before it crossed the goal line. This game, BC makes a pass to Keon Hatcher that's kind of high, and he goes up and gets it on the goal line, and then as he's pulling it down, basically traps it on his helmet and tries to stumble back into the goal line. And I think it was Fields comes over the top and slaps the ball out. Gets picked up by Trayvon Campbell, who's fairly fast, and he outruns Nathan for a touchdown. But then we go to review and we find out, no, one of the officials had blown the whistle when he thought that Hatcher was in for the touchdown. So that's how it goes. That's what the rule says. Saskatchewan got the recovery, but on the 3-yard lines where they recovered it, they couldn't advance it. If it had been a meaningful game, it would have bothered me a lot more. I do think that the refs have to try and, on those sorts of things, if there's any doubt, let it go. Or the other thing, again, just because I happened to listen to it last night with the 3 Down Nation, they said if they weren't going to let it go, they should have all been jumping up and down and blowing their whistles and stopping it right then, so that you wouldn't get the touchdown and the fans pissed off that it gets taken away. There was a, well, I can't call it a beautiful play, but there was a very impressive play down towards the Saskatchewan end zone where Rourke was rolling out and was in the grasp and falling down. And he kind of flipped it forward in what looked like a desperation flip, just get it to an empty part of the field. And Hatcher came flying in and got his hands underneath it and caught it for the touchdown, which was quite impressive. Not so much from Rourke, he kept it alive, but the Hatcher catch was great. And I've actually heard in some of the rider circles, I've heard complaints that, well, that ball, the nose of it touched the ground, and maybe it was a touchdown or maybe it wasn't, but the refs owed the Saskatchewan a touchdown, so they shouldn't have called that one. That should have been overruled too, and I don't think you can do it that way. You have to call each play fair as it's supposed to be called, and I didn't have a problem. I can say for myself, I didn't have a problem with that. That looked like a catch to me. It looked like he had control. Yes, the nose of the ball touched the ground, but his hands were on it, and it was tight to his chest. That was his whole body momentum rolling forward like that. Any disagreements?
No, that was a legitimate touchdown as far as I was concerned. And the other one was a complete ripoff from the Riders' point of view. That should have been a touchdown for Tevin Campbell. They would have won the game. I'm positive they would have won the game if they had scored at that point. All the momentum they had. BC did not play well again for a team that's fighting for a playoff, not only a playoff position, but a crossover and everything else. I didn't think they looked sharp. I didn't think they looked like they cared that much. And Saskatchewan looked terrific. I think Saskatchewan looked terrific last week, and they look better this week. So the comment that Harris made a couple of weeks ago that, with the locker room is proven and ready to win, they don't worry about the buys. Well, he might be right. They're looking like they're prepped and ready to roll. So it's going to be tough to beat those guys. It's going to be real tough to beat the Green.
I was impressed by the defensive line. They were rushing 4 or sometimes 5, but their lane integrity was fantastic. They were creating a pocket around Rourke and closing it in. It was very rare that he managed to get out of the pocket, which he's so good at. They look impressive. And Harris, for a week off completely, did not look rusty. And he was out there without his 3 top receivers. I mean, that's the other thing to think about with that. They didn't have Myers, Johnson, or Emlis in there. And yet they were still, this is where the depth comes up. They were still playing 5 receivers that had played a lot this year. 6 of them, I guess, because were putting a Joe in. So, yeah, I think, personally, as a Rider fan, I feel about as good as you can going into the playoffs at this point.
Yeah.
Who knows what'll happen? One game at a time, but it feels good. Anyway, that was sort of my take on it. Did I cover everything?
One, Hughes, he went 2 for 2 on field goals, so that was a good debut for him.
Mm-hmm.
And my note just says I didn't expect Saskatchewan to push this hard against BC in this game. I honestly didn't expect them to play as many. Yeah. So anyway, good for them, because I was watching that game and I was actually quite surprised that they were pushing that hard. And I thought they were just going to kind of let BC do whatever, because who cares? But they came out to play.
Every team I've ever heard of, coaches and players say, 1 week at a time. It's one game at a time where we want to go 1-0 this week. And every game matters and every game you're going to win. But I haven't seen too often teams in that sort of situation where they're basically getting ready for a first place game that actually lives up to that. And that's what impressed me again in both of their last two games. The talent level came down some without some of the starters in there, but the effort level did not at all. Alrighty. Oh, and I will say this too, about that whistle. I'm certainly not the first person to say this. This is not my original thought. But it's interesting when you think about the fact that what you said, GT, could have been an entirely different outcome of that game. That whistle could have been what moved BC from playing in Montreal to playing a home game.
Absolutely.
So,
and Calgary getting a home game and everything else. That was a huge whistle. And it was a bad whistle because if you remember 2 years ago, there was all that kerfuffle about whistles coming early. And then they made a statement that they were going to then not blow the whistle and let plays run its course and make sure that because there was a couple of plays that were called dead at too early. And so they came out mid-season and said they changed it and referees were not going to do that. And then it just happened. And it was, I don't blame the ref, but the fact is that play wasn't dead yet. And so there shouldn't have been a whistle at all. And and it did change me in my mind that game, in that Saskatchewan would have won that game. I'm pretty sure of it.
You never know, but there was a very good chance. And I'm with you. The refs are human. There's none of us that gets through a day without making a mistake.
Yep.
It's just whoever, and I'm kind of glad that they haven't said who the ref was that blew the whistle. Whoever blew it just happened to pick a real bad time to make one of his mistakes for that day. So what are you going to do? You do the best you can. And I'm sure he probably is still feeling pretty crappy about that because I know they've got a lot of integrity and care about what they do. But anyway, so that's the season over and done.
Wow.
Doesn't it seem like to me, it feels like maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago that I was reaching out saying, I need some help on this podcast. And you guys contacted me and it's just blowing by.
It has gone really quickly. I do feel like it's gone even faster than most seasons. And I'm not sure if the podcast has helped that, but it certainly seems like this one's gone by really fast.
Yes, indeed. So now we have to pick some playoff games. But before we do, I have been terrible but keeping up on this all season. But this weekend I did go through and did our whole pick'em records for the thing. Oh, actually, let me open something up here because I should tell you. First of all, I should go here and say what the podcast did, what our record was. So log into this, pick'em standings. That's where we go. So here we go. Boom. Leaderboard. Pick'em results and leaderboard will be displayed here once there are results to show. Oh, so they've already taken it off for this year.
Really?
Yeah, it's a blank screen.
Love it.
Oh, they're out of it in a hurry. So I don't know how we did as a team. I could probably go back and figure it out, but it's not right there. But as far as our individual little competition between the three of us here goes.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. Wow. In third place in the CFL Outsiders internal competition was me. I was 45 and 36, so 55.5%, barely over 50%. Not a good year for me in Pick'em. Second place was MJ, 53 and 28, 65.4 points. Yes. And that, of course, means GT was in first. Now, remember, MJ was 53 and 28. GT was 54 and 27. So 66.7%. Actually, 66.6 repeating, exactly a third.
Oh.
So there was a game between the two of you. One slightly different pick.
I blame Grizz.
Yeah, although I think he won the week for you.
Serves me right for having a life outside of podcasting. And we did pretty good.
Yes, you two did. Yeah, you were both up about
we were
2/3.
All over 500. We were all over 500.
Well, yeah, you guys were well over 500. I think I hurt myself a little bit towards the end, just saying I really don't care because I'm doing so bad. So the stuff about trying to to help Calgary win by picking against them and stuff. But it's still, I would have, if I'd played these last 2 weeks straight, I might have had 2 more wins. So I was nowhere near. I was 10 games below you guys.
We're gonna come.
Well, it was a bit of a wacky season,
Yeah.
to be fair.
Yes, indeed. So let's see now how we do in the playoffs.
All
And
right.
a whole new competition here. So starting out, I tried to find the injury reports and I couldn't see them. The last ones are for week 21, so I don't know if they don't release them in the playoffs or what. I have
They're
heard.
up, but most of them are like load management. I know Dembski's out.
Yeah, because I went in where I normally see it on CFL and it stopped at week 21. So anyway, regardless, we'll see what's there. We have heard that Davis may or may not have been nicked up. That may have just been an excuse to not play him. I have heard what you just mentioned, MJ, that Dembski is not practicing yet. So whether he'll be in or not, I don't know.
Because some people's things say ankle, but then I'm like, oh, no, you said this before, and then they play. So
he's gonna play.
Yeah,
you're gonna play. It's playoffs. You're playing, right?
Yeah.
Like
I would expect that he'll, if it's at all, and like if he can put weight on it at all, he will probably not practice at all this week, and then they'll shoot him up real good, and he won't feel anything below his hip on that leg, and they'll get through it.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
why do I need reconstructive surgery when I'm older? What a mystery.
Yeah. Hey, football is not an old person sport. You shouldn't play it if you're old or you plan to get old. But that's our first game. So what are our predictions for Winnipeg at Montreal?
All right. I pulled my tarot cards. Do you want to hear?
Sure.
Good. Tarot helps.
So Bombers got 8 of Wands, which is progress, movement, and rapid action. Basically, steady pace is now full-on sprint and fueled by passion.
That sounds
The universe
good.
is working in your favor. So they're kind of ramping up. Whirlwind's a possibility. Alouettes have 6 of Swords, which is transition and letting go. This is braving troubled waters to catch bigger fish in the sea. Opportunities were limited in the past, but there's some new perspective here. Ride the waves is easier to go with the flow than to resist pull. So I think one team's a little more going with the flow than the other. I think there's some...
I'm going to have to let you interpret that to me as how that pick goes.
So the Bombers, I think that's just like steady. Well, this is the thing. They have experience in playoffs. Zach Collaros can play in playoffs. I don't consider them a crossover team because they have played in the East
21 years.
Hey.
You
want me to go or do you want to go next?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm still thinking about it.
Okay, yeah. I'm not brave enough to pick the Bombers. I'm not guaranteeing by any means that Montreal will win this because the Bombers are capable at times of putting together a spectacular game and moving on when they shouldn't have. I can think of a few examples of that over the past couple of years. But they won't do it for 3 games in a row. They've shown that they're not capable of that. So they're not going to win the Grey Cup. Do they get past Montreal? Possible, but I think doubtful. I think that Montreal defense is better than the Winnipeg defense. Winnipeg defense is good, but Montreal is better. Davis Alexander is the kind of guy that can get something done against the Montreal or against the Winnipeg defense. I find they tend to be better against quarterbacks that they know are going to be in the pocket and know where they're going to find them. Alexander's not a running quarterback by any means, but he is mobile. He can move around in the pocket and he can roll out if he needs to. And I think that will be the difference there. And I do think that the Montreal defense won't give up a lot to Zach with the weapons he currently has. Although they are saying 8 degrees and raining. So the run game may come into effect.
Brady time.
I'm going to interpret the tarot.
Okay.
I love this. I'm having so much fun.
So Montreal has the calm, carry on level kind of tarot card is what I heard. And Winnipeg has the kind of excitement on the up kind of tarot card is what I heard. So I'm going to suggest the other way around.
Opposite? Like the Winnipeg's like the possibilities are flowing freely around you. And then the Alouettes are like, you're brave in troubled waters, but you're kind of
Right.
moving
Okay.
through.
Moving
Yeah.
through. Okay. So when Montreal's going to score early, they're going to have a lead, maybe 10 points thereabouts, and then Winnipeg's going to storm back. And it's going to be closed very close with Montreal in a bit of a panic as Winnipeg comes down to try to tie the game. But they're going to pull it out in the end. So I think it's going to be
Right.
Montreal.
Okay.
That's how I interpret the card.
I love it.
MJ
I
and
am
I are both
just so well, the Bombers just do weird things. They just I don't know how they do it.
furiously making notes so we can put the right
Yeah.
things down in the stuff.
I really do want to pick the Alouettes, but I don't know, man.
No.
There's the Bombers do I don't
Like I said,
We'll
they're
see.
a hard one to pick because I could
Yeah.
easily see this being. I could see Montreal coming out of this 35-3, or I could see it being a 18-7 game.
Yeah.
Either
Yeah.
way, it's just weather will have a lot to play with it. Alexander, he doesn't seem to have shown any nerves at all yet so far. Will the playoffs make a difference for that? I don't know.
See?
So then we've got only one other one to talk about, and that's Calgary at BC, the Western semifinal. Your team, GT, you get the first pick.
This is a tough one. I think BC's been playing much better recently overall, but I think Calgary's also played pretty well until this weekend where I don't think either team played well. So I think, I think BC's going to win. I do think BC's going to win. As much as I'd like to see Vernon get his comeback against BC after the 2 losses earlier in the year, I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I think this could be a shootout, and I think it's going to be a much more exciting game than the first one. I think the first one's going to be a bit of a drag it down knuckle buster. I think this one's going to be dry, as you said, and indoors and perfect weather. And I think it's going to be both guys flinging the ball around. And I think it's going to be a high scoring game. But I think BC just has a bit more to win this.
Okay. MJ?
Okay, so the Stamps have the 4 of Wands, which is backbone and foundation and trying to be centered and stable. And the big thing here was embracing mistakes. Don't let them rattle you. And I think that is the key for
Yeah,
VA.
that really is, yeah.
He
Yep.
gets rattled. So if he can stay grounded,
Mhm.
they will be okay. But I'm not convinced. The Lions have the 9 of Swords reversed, and this is mindfulness, conscious choices, and thought patterns. So this is
Nathan.
through your experiences, you've come to realize that everything will ultimately be okay, and your anxieties will arise, but you'll have the tools to deal with it. Like letting go of the need to control situations is giving you the freedom to let go and be as you are. You're prepared. So I will take the Lions.
Yeah. And to me, like I said in there, those tarot cards describe the quarterbacks basically.
Yeah.
VA's got to be able to keep it calm enough and not get overwhelmed if he makes a mistake here or there. And Nathan's strong point is that he knows the football, he knows the offense. He's a very cerebral sort of guy with it.
And VA got rattled last time he was there.
Yeah.
That's the part that worries me the most is VA is when he's on, he's really on, but it seems like he can get rattled. And when you add together the chances of it being a meaningful playoff game after a team that missed the playoffs last year, so there's pressure there, and he's going back into the team where he had to play against a team he had all the trouble with. I'm not saying he can't do it. I really hope he can, but this seems like the kind of game where his emotions might have the potential to get away from him. And when that happens, it's not so good.
Yeah, I'm hoping that he had those 2 games already, that the first one and then more particularly the second one that he's had, okay, I'm over that now. I just have to play. I don't know that he will, but I think he will. But even then, as I said, I just think BC has a little bit more.
Maybe the trainer needs to sprinkle just a little bit of Valium in his Gatorade,
Yeah.
Take it down a notch. Yes. And I have to say, again, as I've been outing myself as the more of the Rider fan on here, this is part of the reason why I'm not really that as upset as I could have been about that inadvertent whistle, because to tell you the truth, I think that Saskatchewan matches up much better against BC than they do against Calgary. So if BC comes out of this with a win, which they're probably favored to do in their hometown, that gives Saskatchewan a team they match up well within the final. Even with the way that Calgary's been up and down a bit, they just absolutely owned the Riders both games. And if they get past BC, I do not like to think about what could happen in that final, especially because that'll be back outdoors where Mills running is going to come into effect a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything
Who are you
else
picking?
to say? Oh, who am I picking? I'm picking BC. I thought I said that.
Okay.
Sorry.
She did.
Okay. I said it inside. No, I do. Yeah, I think that even if VA has a great game, that probably the best outcome for Calgary is what you said, GT, a real high shootout, but maybe not quite enough to get it done. Mind you, you never know. They have played good enough at times to be able to beat any team in the league. So
Absolutely.
Maybe VA will bring his belt buckle.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. That gets us through it. And we were 2 hours even on a short show, but that'll be edited out of my blathering around that doesn't mean anything. So, sign off, I guess. Final thoughts and social medias. Where do people find you?
As always, at GT Barnum on bluesky.social.net, whatever it's called, and you can find me there occasionally.
You can find me on Blue Sky at Sports and Plants, and I hope you'll follow along with me for 10 hours of sports on Saturday.
Yeah. Yes. And for
I'll
myself,
be there.
I said right off the bat that I'm slightly impatient this week, and that's because after having to watch the football we did last weekend, I can't wait for a couple of good playoff games. And I don't think there'll be blowouts here. I think that these may not come down to the last 3 minutes. They might, but I'm pretty sure they'll be decided in the last half of the fourth quarter, if nothing else. So I guess that's about it. Please, I guess I should say I'm available on Blue Sky, Oldman-SAC. The show itself is on X and Twitter at the CFL Outsiders. And other than that, please consider subscribing. Do your good deed and help us out. Our subscriber numbers have doubled this year, so I'm happy with that, and we're hoping to get a few more in. If you can, leave us a comment. A like is real easy. Hit the little button there with it. Anything to help get more people interested in the show. We've got 3 more weeks to get people built up and revved up to come, so they just can't wait to see us come back next year. Yeah, sure. Anyway, that's about it for now. Until next week, for MJ and GT, this is Old Man saying, get the hell off my lawn.